gathered evidence of my wife's cheating after she went on self-discovery trips with her life coach. I gathered solid proof that my wife's been cheating after she started saying she didn't feel the spark anymore. We've been married for 8 years, together a bit longer, and we've got 2 young kids. This year's been rough, sure, we've had our share of arguments, but nothing I ever thought would lead her to cheat. But recently, I noticed she was becoming more distant, hardly talking to me. One night, I decided to confront her, and that's when she dropped the bomb. She wasn't happy and didn't feel a spark with me anymore. At first, I panicked, thinking I was just being a lousy, inattentive husband. I figured that might have been part of the issue. But the very next day, I caught a glimpse of a weird message on her phone, full of all this lovey-dovey stuff. I couldn't help but dig deeper, and that's when I found out the truth. She'd been messaging some guy for a long time. Lots of I love yous and talk about their future together. I was absolutely crushed. Still, I kept my cool, mostly because I'd read advice online that said not to confront her right away. So, I read through as much of the messages as I could, called up a couple of lawyers for advice. I've even got one on retainer now, and tried to get my head straight before taking any big steps. A couple of days later, I sat my wife down and calmly asked if she was having an affair. After a few minutes of awkward silence, she admitted it. Turns out it's been going on for 6 months. She went on about how it's the deepest emotional connection she's ever had, which is complete nonsense, but whatever. I laid out my boundaries. She needed to cut off contact with him, go to marriage counseling, and so on. But what really got to me was how angry she got when I told her she had to cut off contact, especially when I said she should do it in front of me. She even insisted on seeing him one last time for closure. That's when I put my foot down. I told her if this guy's so important, she could pack a bag and go live with him. She backed off after that, but not before calling me a controlling hole. This morning, she texted me to show she'd cut him off, but my gut tells me she's going to find another way to contact him. Honestly, I don't see much hope left, and I'm not sure I even want to try anymore. I just want to be able to tell my kids, years down the road, that I gave it my best shot. We've got a marriage counseling session tomorrow, but I'm already leaning toward filing for divorce before wasting more time and heartache. I'm being cautious, though, mostly for the sake of my kids. But is this really the right way to handle it? It's a tough spot, trying to protect myself and keep my kids' well-being in mind. It's a deeply personal situation, and your instincts not to rush things for the sake of your kids are spot on. However, you also have to think about your own mental and emotional well-being. Reconciliation has to go both ways, and honestly, with the way your wife's been acting, especially her hesitation to cut off contact, it doesn't seem like she's fully committed. So, here's an update. The past few weeks have been rough, to say the least. But they've also given me time to do some serious soul-searching. As a follow-up to my last post, my wife and I did go to a few counseling sessions after I confronted her. I have to admit, the counselor has been really great. She listens to both sides without blaming anyone and has been helping us figure out this new reality we're in. She also helped us dig into some deeper issues in our relationship. While that doesn't excuse what my wife did, it's been helpful to understand where things went wrong, at least for the sake of not repeating the same mistakes if I end up in a future relationship. As I mentioned before, my wife's reaction to my boundary about cutting off contact with the other guy was pretty telling. She acted like she agreed, but I caught a few small messages between them before she wiped her phone clean. That was the final straw, so I went ahead and filed for divorce, and she was served a few days ago. I also had a serious talk with my father-in-law, who I'm really close with. I needed to make sure I was putting our kids first, no matter what happens between me and my wife. He understood, and it was important for me to have that conversation since I could tell my wife just wanted to brush this whole thing under the rug. Needless to say, she was furious when she realized her fantasy world had blown up, but her therapist was able to talk her through my perspective and why this had to happen. I think she's starting to get it, that her actions have real consequences, and she's beginning to see just how much she stands to lose. Since I filed, everything's felt like a whirlwind. My wife was completely blindsided when I dropped the news on her. She's been an emotional wreck these past few days, which honestly makes me think she never believed I'd have the strength to walk away. I've kept her at a distance, but I can tell there's been a noticeable shift in her behavior. On the positive side, we've been talking more civilly, and we're focusing on what really matters, our kids. I've made it crystal clear to her that what she did left a deep wound, and if there's any hope of moving forward, she's the one who needs to put in the hard work. I need space and time to even begin to think about forgiveness. Let's be real, what she did was incredibly selfish and one of the worst betrayals you can do to a person, but I'm trying to take it one step at a time. I haven't lost sight of the fact that we still have kids to raise together, and that's where my focus is as I figure out how to move forward with my own happiness. I want to thank everyone for the advice and support in the previous comments. It really helped me get through the tough moments. Honestly, I'm proud of myself for not sinking into a pit of self-pity, anger, or sadness. Instead, I found the strength to make the right moves, keep my dignity intact, and look toward a brighter future. I don't have all the answers yet, and my feelings are still all over the place, but I'm finally starting to feel a bit of inner peace. Thank you all again for being there. It's clear that you've experienced a huge amount of personal growth over these last few weeks. You're absolutely right. What your wife did was selfish and completely unjustifiable. But the way you've handled this whole situation, especially your dedication to your kids, is really admirable. It's great to hear that the therapy sessions are helping you stay open about your pain and your needs going forward. Healing is rarely a straight path, but it sounds like you're walking it with a level head, clear focus, and an open heart. This isn't just about holding on to your dignity. It's about protecting your peace of mind, and you're clearly doing that. Update. Hey everyone, I wanted to post an update. I shared my experience here recently, and I'm so grateful for all the replies and DMs. They really helped me get through some dark times, and now, I'm feeling a lot better. Below is my original post, and I'll link another update about my decision to serve my soon-to-be ex-wife later on. Right now, I'm in the post-serving stage, working closely with my lawyer. What I'm looking for is some advice from anyone who's been in a similar situation. Did any of you take advantage of the affair fog to get better terms in the divorce? And if so, how did you pull that off? My soon-to-be ex is still deep in the fog. She's still seeing and contacting the guy she had the affair with, which I haven't really bothered to confront her about yet because, honestly, it's keeping her distracted. I'm curious to hear what kinds of unexpected agreements people have managed to get, and any tips for how to navigate this phase would be really appreciated. Also, if you've got any strategies for keeping her off balance, other than gray rock or the 180 method, I'd love to hear them. For now, I've been going out more unexpectedly and keeping my activities private, not telling her what I'm up to. Any advice or tips would be really helpful. Some advice from the community includes Tim's suggestion to draw up a very advantageous agreement. Review it with your lawyer to make it realistic but still heavily in your favor, and then pitch it to her with something like, "Let's do this quickly so you can be with your honey buns, and I'll be out of your hair." Another member, Director 25530, shared how his ex left him for someone else, and my ex's affair partner was wealthy, and she was convinced that this guy was going to leave his wife and marry her. She wasn't interested in my house, which I had purchased with my first wife, my retirement account, or my stock portfolio. All she wanted was half of our savings account, and that was it. I was tempted to blow up her relationship with the affair partner by exposing the affair to his wife, but my attorney advised me to keep quiet, play nice, and wait until the fog lifted, or at least until the divorce was finalized. Eventually, my ex withdrew $60,000 from our savings and walked out. Update: gray rocking during divorce proceedings. Hey everyone, I've posted a few threads about my ongoing saga, but here's the quick version. My wife cheated, gave me the classic, "I love you but I'm not in love" line, and claimed the affair partner was her greatest emotional connection ever. It was textbook gaslighting. I served her with divorce papers, and now we're a few weeks into that post-serving phase. For now, we're still stuck cohabitating because I want to spend as much time with my kids as possible. I've moved into a separate room, which has at least given me some space and helped with getting that emotional distance from her. I've also been using the gray rock method with my soon-to-be ex-wife, basically trying to stay as uninterested and disengaged as possible, but I still have to fake it a little when the kids are around. They're still really young, so I do my best to keep things upbeat for their sake. In the evenings, I've been making myself scarce, hanging out with friends, going to the gym, doing whatever I can to keep myself busy. Any other advice on how to best navigate this situation would be really helpful. I'm trying to balance things so I can get as much bonding time with my kids as possible, so I've even sucked it up and done some family dinners. I'm open to any other tips or do's and don'ts to handle this situation better. Update. Wife cheated, next steps, part 5. Hey everyone, I've made a few posts already, and for those who don't know the story, here's the short version. My wife cheated, claimed it was the greatest emotional attachment ever, gave me the love you but not in love speech, and I responded by serving her with divorce papers. Now, I'm about a month and a half past D-Day, and I'm doing everything I can to move on. I'm not here to give an update on the process itself. That's still ongoing, and I'll share more when the time is right. Right now, I'm just asking for advice. If you've been through this process, what lessons did you learn? What would you have done differently? Or what's some good advice you wish you'd known? The advice I've gotten from my previous posts has been super helpful, and the support has been incredible. I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything that could help me through this. One piece of advice I got from Kranik was to be prepared and have someone in your support system on speed dial, just in case things get tough. That's definitely something I've been keeping in mind. The only real advice I can give you is this. It's going to take some time to get through this whole process, and a lot of things can happen in that time. You might deal with her telling people that she cheated because of you, or the affair fog might lift, and she could come back asking for a second chance. Or she might try to hurt you in some other way. A lot can happen, but for most of it, you can be prepared by having a plan. Know exactly how you'll react when you see her, and stick to a consistent way of behaving when you have to interact. The gray rock method works best here, keeping things neutral and emotionless. And make sure you have someone you can reach out to when things get tough. The key is consistency. No matter what she says or does, or how she tries to manipulate things, never make a decision on the spot. Always tell her you'll think about it and get back to her in 3 days. That way, you'll have time to really consider things without reacting emotionally. Update. She cheated, but I'm made to feel like the asshole. Hey everyone, you can find the full story in my post history, but here's the quick version. My wife cheated, found her greatest emotional connection ever, and I hit her with divorce papers. Now we're on the train to D-Town, and I just wanted to hear how others have dealt with being made out to be the bad guy by in-laws, friends, and others. I did manage to get ahead of things by telling some of her family, my family, and a few close friends after I filed. I didn't want to blast it to the world, so I kept it relatively quiet. But I'm starting to notice I'm getting cold vibes from some of her family and even from a few people I thought had my back. I get it, blood is thicker than water, but it still stings when people turn their back on you, even when you've been a good dad and husband, and she's the one who's been the immoral jerk. Has anyone else experienced this? Did people eventually come around once they saw the truth? Or did you just stop caring and move on? Some advice from the community. Desert Throne 1000 said, her side of the family is going to be your ex-family soon, so I wouldn't worry too much. You won't need to deal with them anymore. Just keep your proof handy in case they call you out. Then you can set the record straight. Brooktrout 523 shared, my ex-wife actually came clean to her family about the affair and that she was leaving me for the other man. Her parents haven't spoken to her in 4 months, but they've been incredibly supportive of me. They see how much it's hurt me, and honestly, they consider me part of their family after 30 years of marriage. They've even had my back when it comes to the effect it's had on our grandkids. Funny enough, I think my mother-in-law likes me more than her own daughter at this point. Her siblings, though, are on the fence. They want everything to go back to normal, but they know their sister is a manipulative liar now. Even at family functions down the road, I'll let my character speak for itself. After all these years, they should know who I am. As for my sons, they've pretty much cut ties with their mom after all this. One of them has only spoken to her once, and it was a brief conversation. They've lost respect for her and have made it clear they'll never be around her affair partner. They know exactly who he is and want nothing to do with him. Another perspective from Eden 1096. This isn't unusual. When a husband cheats, the typical reaction is to call him a lying, cheating, worthless piece of crap who betrayed his wonderful wife. But when a wife cheats, people often wonder, what did the husband do to push her into someone else's arms? is a pretty lousy double standard. These days, the go-to excuse for wives who cheat is that their husbands were emotionally distant, unavailable, or abusive. And everyone just nods along like that explains everything. Update: Wife Cheated Saga. The unexciting conclusion. Hey everyone, as of today, there's finally some closure in my saga that began over the summer. I've been posting updates and getting advice from all of you, and I just want to start by saying a huge thank you to this community. The support and wisdom I've received, especially from those who reached out privately, has been incredible. Going through this has been a nightmare, especially with my close family living far away. It's tough being alone with your thoughts, but there's been a lot of introspection along the way. For those who need a recap, you can find one of my many threads below, but here's the quick version. My wife cheated and tried to hide it. When I found out, I realized there was no hope because she was deep in the affair fog, so I filed for divorce right away. In the last few months, things have been frosty but surprisingly low on drama. My soon-to-be ex and I have been separating our lives in the house while still trying to maintain some normalcy for the kids. The whole discovery and mediation process moved along pretty fast. We agreed on a 50-50 custody split for the kids, worked out a schedule for holidays, and since we live in a no-fault state, the asset division went by the book with a little give and take. I won't go into too many details right now, but maybe I'll do another post about that later. The good news is, I'll be moving into my own place soon to start fresh, and the final steps in the divorce are just about complete. As for advice from this whole fiasco, I learned a few key things. First off, don't bother with the pick-me dance. I tried that for about a week after finding out about the affair before I wised up and realized it wasn't going to change anything. My soon-to-be ex is still stuck in the fog, but that's her problem. She's the one who needs to figure things out, not me. At the end of the day, you have to live with it, but one of the best pieces of advice I can give is to lawyer up with a seasoned family law attorney who's reasonable and knows what they're doing. I can't say enough good things about the attorney who handled my case. It was important to balance what I wanted with what was realistic, and that helped me reach a resolution quickly. I avoided racking up ridiculous fees by doing a lot of the prep work myself, cutting down on hours of back and forth, which let us settle everything relatively quickly. As for her past and present indiscretions, while it's painful, it just further proves that the problems in our relationship weren't on me. Her actions were hers alone and had nothing to do with my role as a husband. That's something I need to remind myself of as I keep moving forward. You're absolutely right. This so-called greatest emotional connection she claims to have will eventually collide with reality. When that happens, it'll be clear how fragile it really is. For now, keep your distance and stay focused on building a healthy, new life for yourself and your children. You've already shown incredible courage and resilience through all of this, and you're on the right track. Just keep your head up, continue moving forward, and remember that this community is here for you every step of the way. Don't forget to take care of yourself and lean on your support network whenever you need to. You're doing an amazing job navigating these tough circumstances. Stay strong and keep pushing forward. We're all wishing you the best. Now, for some back and forth with Proxy 23. Proxy 23. She's doing it for herself. Letting you keep her in your inner circle would partially absolve her guilt, at least in her mind. She'd convince herself that the betrayal and hurt couldn't have been that bad if you're still letting her be close. OP replies, "Yep, I know. She's always been obsessed with managing her image, constantly posting on social media, keeping up appearances. I've let my social media go quiet for my own mental health, but she's definitely not in my inner circle anymore. I haven't shared any of my thoughts or plans with her." Proxy 23. Do your family and friends know about her cheating? OP replies, "Family, yes, but I don't know what kind of story she's tried to sell them afterward. They seem to want to sweep her behavior under the rug, but they know the facts. As for friends, my friends know the truth. Some of hers know about the divorce, but she's probably spinning her own version of things. I've gotten some side eye from her acquaintances, but in the end, they're not my friends, and I couldn't care less about their opinions." Update. D is for decree and other fun stuff. Hello, fellow members of the club none of us want to be in. I wanted to give what's likely to be a final update for a while. I'll still be around to offer advice, but it's time for me to move on to the next chapter of my life. It still stings a bit to type this out and say goodbye to the life I thought I was going to have, but I've come to terms with it. Change is necessary, and now it's full speed ahead. If anyone needs a recap, one of my last posts is below, but the short version is this. It's the typical cheater's handbook. No surprises there. My wife cheated, and we've reached the unexciting conclusion of that saga. As of today, the divorce decree is official, and I'm no longer married. On the bright side, I also got the keys to my new house and can start moving in soon. I opted for a buyout, which felt like the best option to start fresh in a place that's completely mine. I got really lucky with the new house, and I'm excited to make new memories in it. I found a really nice house that's barely a minute away from where I live now. It's perfect. Huge fenced-in backyard, wood fire pit, big garage, and an amazing location. The best part? It backs up to a nature preserve, and since I'm an avid outdoorsman and biker, it's like I've got my own little slice of paradise right outside my door. Some people might ask why I stayed so close, but the answer is simple. My kids. I want them to know their dad is always nearby when they need me. Thanks to the advice I've received from this community, I've stayed focused on what really matters. I started working out regularly, dove headfirst into a new career opportunity, and it's already paid off in a big way. I'm not concerned with dating or finding a new partner right now. I'm content enjoying the single life for a while. As for my ex and her affair partner, I've finally started letting go of that whole disaster. Whatever happens between them isn't my problem anymore. And, as someone here wisely put it, when you get with someone who cheated on their spouse, you're getting someone who cheated on their spouse. I did everything I could as a husband and father, and now it's time for someone else to appreciate that. I just want to thank everyone again for the messages, advice, and well wishes. They've meant the world to me over these past few months, especially when I didn't have many people close by to lean on. For those of you who are just starting this rough journey, keep putting one foot in front of the other. Survive each day. I'm no expert, but I'm here if anyone needs a listening ear. Good luck to you all. Update. 1 month after the decree, what a difference. Hey all, I wanted to give a quick update, especially for those of you who are fresh off your D-Day and wondering what life might look like down the road. I'm about 6 weeks post-divorce decree, and I moved into my new place a month ago. It's been a whirlwind, but I've been working like crazy to turn it into my sanctuary. I'm happy to say it's finally furnished, and it's starting to really feel like home. My home. My kids have been over quite a few times now, and the rotation schedule is working out well. I've always heard that kids are resilient, but until you see it firsthand, it's hard to believe. I'm glad to report they're adjusting well, and we're having a lot of fun at Dad's house. They've told me many times that they love being here, which means the world to me. As for me, it's been a bit strange adjusting to this newfound freedom, but I've found that making to-do lists and setting daily, weekly, and long-term goals has been a huge help. I was a little sad at first, but staying busy keeps those feelings at bay. Right now, I'm focused on self-improvement, working on the house, getting in shape, and spending quality time with my kids. I've thought about dipping my toe back into the dating pool, but truthfully, I'm not interested right now. My focus is on my home, my health, and my kids. Someone commented on one of my posts that leaving the house after divorce felt like coming up for air after being underwater. And they couldn't have been more right. As for my cheating ex, I've kept things cordial, but that's about it. No sign of the greatest emotional connection, affair partner yet. WTF, but honestly, who cares? Tonight, I sat outside with a couple of beers, lit up a cigar, and just soaked in the peace and quiet of my new place. It hit me. Getting away from the mess my ex created was 100% the right move. For those at the start of this nightmare, doubting whether to leave, I get it. It's tough, heartbreaking, and feels like a kick in the gut. But ejecting a cheater was the only decision that made sense. And with time, I'm convinced it only gets better. Cheers to everyone on this journey. Update. Almost 6 months post-divorce and moving forward. Hey everyone. I'm closing in on the 6-month mark post-divorce and nearly a year since D-Day. It's been incredibly cathartic to post my story, and I know many of you have followed along, commented, messaged, and shared hope. Like so many others who've posted their journeys, I want to give the newcomers a little light. Yes, you're stepping into a dark place right now, but I promise, there's another side, and you will get there. I'm always here to help anyone in need, just as so many of you have helped me. So, 6 months past D-Day, and here's some good news. My house is fully furnished and really feels like home now. My kids are comfortable with the routine, love coming over, and have even made some friends in the neighborhood. I'm incredibly grateful that they've adjusted so well. They just get it. There's dad time and mom time, and there have been no complaints or tears. Outside of spending time with the kids, I've thrown myself into a ton of home improvement projects. The previous owner, an older divorced guy, let some things slide, but I've taken it as an opportunity to really make the place my own. I even set up a home gym with everything I need, and I've been boxing and working out 4 times a week. I'm finally getting my body back to where it needs to be. On the career front, I went through a major change at work, and even though I was going through all this chaos, I somehow managed not to screw anything up. In fact, I got some praise for my efforts. I've kept my personal situation private, but I ended up getting a raise and more exposure, so my career is moving in the right direction. Of course, I still have daily struggles with my mental health and focus, but therapy and workouts are helping a lot. Things are getting better bit by bit. I think about my ex less and less every day, and every small step forward feels like a huge relief. As for her, she's still lost in La La Land, but that's no longer my problem. I can honestly say we co-parent pretty well. I've gray-rocked the heck out of her let's be friends attempts and kept everything strictly about the kids. It's been cordial, nothing more. For anyone following my story, you've probably wondered about the saga of the other man, OM. Well, all I can say is that the world's greatest love story hasn't gone public yet, but my kids recently let me know that he's been around, at least in a small capacity. I have to laugh a little. Here we are, 6 months past D-Day, and they're still sneaking around. Great hallmarks of a long-lasting, trusting relationship, right? Guaranteed to stand the test of time, I'm sure. At this point, I've come to terms with the fact that whatever's going to happen will happen. I'm just grateful to be out of a relationship with someone who could lie to my face and not feel a shred of remorse. Now I've got a real shot at building an even better life than before. Good riddance and good luck to them.